It's me, Nate Almighty, and I'm back with another video, all right? We're going to start getting to it with these Cash App requests, answers, and everything. And also, I want you guys to know that I'm going to continue to do reactions. I'm going to add that to my arsenal, all right? Some real lit reactions, and it's going to have things to do with women and such. But it's also going to have things to do with, like, manhood, as I give game to the younger brothers and anyone who may need advice when it comes to things like parenting and how to move as a man. So what I want to do, I'm going to start off here with a Cash App donation request, another one by the brother Shane Freehold, in regards to a video where I reacted to a young white boy who was turning it up on his mother, having one of the hugest temper tantrums that I ever seen inside of a Walmart over a toy gun. And the brother Shane Freehold has some questions that he wanted me to answer based off of how that child should have been disciplined and what I would do if I was in this position. So without further ado, let's get to those questions and I'm gonna give my answers. So the brother says, related to the original video you reacted to, I know the situation is probably different because they're in public, but what does this specific spanking look like in your opinion? I think you mentioned holding him up by his arm and spanking him right then and there, but what if he continues wilding out? Okay, we're gonna stop it right there. When I said that I would probably grab his arm and spank him right then and there, I'm saying this as somebody who, that's what I think I would do in that situation. I'm fortunate enough to have sons that have never embarrassed me out in public like this. Usually the only time I see kids throwing these type of temper tantrums where they're stomping and rolling around on the floor, they usually do it with the mother, the aunt, the grandmother, things like that, right? But when he says, I think you mentioned holding him up by his arm and spanking him there, but what if he continues wilding out? Okay, in this scenario, first I'm thinking about where am I and what's around, okay? So if I'm in an area where it's predominantly black people, I would spank my child right there. The same exact way that I said. But if we're in a place where there's a significant amount of white people, right? Nosy, Karen type of white people, they're too nosy. And I don't want someone, you know what I'm saying, to feel like I'm abusing my child when I'm really not, right? Like, these days, anytime you want to discipline a child, they try to act like it's abuse. I would probably pick my child up with one arm, because I'm a strong man, throw him over my shoulder, and simply just walk out of the store. I would walk out of the store or pick him up, take him in the bathroom, right? And if I take him in the bathroom, or if I take him in the car, then what I would do is put him over my knee. Spank, 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 spank type of situation. I feel like that's valid until a kid gets about 5 years old. Once 5 years old or older, if your kid hasn't gotten it together by then you may have to exercise different options, you know? Being nonviolent is always the first option. You know what I'm saying? Taking away fun is always, you know what I'm saying, an option before physical discipline. I always want to put that in the air, right? But let's keep going, okay? Okay, so he says, what if he continues wilding out? If he would have continued to wild out if I got him in the store, then it's just like I said, you're going over the shoulder, you go into the car, or you're going in the bathroom. And then I'm going to cut that ass again, and then we're going to have a talk. Moving on, right? Do you just keep spanking him, then using your hand, putting him over your knee, doing it in the public, or taking him to the bathroom or home? Yeah, like I said, bathroom. If you don't spank in public, do you at least tell him you're getting a spanking when you get home, or just take him out the store, etc.? All right, me personally, I think that when a child needs discipline, right? If they broke the code to where they need physical discipline, you got to handle that situation as soon as possible. You don't want to wait too long and now you're feeling guilty because you waited too long and the kid done made you smile and did something cute, and then they don't end up getting the discipline that they need right then and there, right? So you're going to want to handle that situation right then and there. Right then and there, preferably in a place where you're not going to have people who are nosy call CPS on you when you're just trying to discipline your child. Because here's the thing, right? We must discipline our children, especially our sons, right? If we don't discipline them and let them know that there's a code of ethics and a moral code and there's always a high authority above them, then if they come from the type of environments where I come from, right, like the streets, and they don't respect authority, them same children are going to disrespect cops and get shot and killed, and the police are going to get away with it. Or they're going to get their ass beat by police, and the police are going to get away with it, right? And you don't always get a lawsuit when the police beat your ass. You don't always get a lawsuit, right? I've never been a person to threaten my child and say, you're getting a spanking, necessarily. My thing is this: I'm going to give my child 1 or 2 warnings, and then after that, I'm going to say, hey, the next time you violate, I'm on your ass. I'm on your ass like stink on shit, you know what I'm saying? That's how I move. But let's keep going, right? The brother has some more general questions. He says, is there certain behaviors you think should always warrant a spanking? My answer to that is not necessarily. It all depends on the severity of the situation. For example, with me, right? I've only spanked See, my oldest son, he challenges me more than my younger son. So I never necessarily had to spank my younger son, except maybe like one time. One time, like in the bathroom in his mom's place, when he was probably like 3 years old, right? He's more scared of me than my oldest son. My oldest son spent more time with me because I was actually with his mom. So he's used to seeing his mother test me and shit. So he'll keep going. And now we're past the point where I'm spanking him because he's about to be 12, but he'll keep going, and I might have to, you know what I'm saying, smack him upside his head. I might have to cave his chest in, you know what I'm saying? And like I said, it's not abuse because they get warnings, and I'm always going to punish them first. But getting back to the question, is there certain behaviors you think should always warrant spanking? It all depends on the severity, right? If your kid is learning what personal boundaries are, and they're young, and they're older than 3 years old, and let's say, for instance, they starting to steal, right? So a spanking is not always the severity, you know what I'm saying? Like, there's different ways to go about it. Like when they're real little and they touching things they're not supposed to be touched, what you gonna do? Pow, pow to the hand. They get a little bit older. What I would do if my son was stealing or something like that, and I gave him a warning or two, and after I explained to him, stealing is bad, right? If you want to be religious, you can be like, that goes against the 10 Commandments under God, right? God is watching. And if you don't go the religious way, it's simple as this. What the hell is you stealing for? You get everything you want to provide it to you. You stealing? That's your last warning. Next time you steal, that's your ass. Me personally, with my son wasn't necessarily a thief, but he's a trash talker. He's somebody who daydreams a lot in school. You know what I'm saying? He's somebody who he'll talk back to the teacher. He's a class clown. You know what I'm saying? So things like him being a class clown, getting in trouble in school. Now you're making the whole family look bad. Now you're going to school. You making your mother and me look like you ain't got no home training, and you have home training. So this is where the 1 or 2 warnings come from. This is yo, I had to go to school. Your teacher had to call me. Your teacher called me again and tell me you was acting up. That's your ass. That's your ass, right? The very first time I spanked my son, it was a school situation where I gave him warnings, right? And I'm going to reveal what happened with that first spanking later on in the video, but let's keep going. Also, do you advocate for parents to clearly outline to their children which actions could lead to spanking? Yes, I do advocate for that. You have to make the kids understand why they're getting punished, why they're getting physical discipline before and after. That's my opinion. They have to know. Otherwise, they'll have hidden resentment for you. Or, you know what I'm saying, they'll just be confused and they'll think that it's just okay to be violent and have violence done to them. And you don't ever want that. Let's keep going. Like, practically, do you think fathers should sit down with their kids and lay out certain offenses where they tell them, if you do this, I'm going to spank you? Yes, I believe that parents, period, should do that. Guardians, period, should do that. There is a reward system. I believe that every parent should go by a reward system, right? And the reward system is, you do good, like for instance, you do good in school, you get on the honor roll, or you've been a good help to your mom, right? You reward the children for that. I'm not a believer of kids should just get candy and snacks and get to play on the phone all day for no damn reason, right? It's not making them better people. So if it's not making them better people, it means that they should earn their right to waste their time having fun. They should earn their right. Like, these kids gotta understand, as soon as possible, life ain't just about fun. When you build up the reward system, in my opinion, you build up a reward system, right? Like my oldest son mother, she getting ready to let me have my oldest son because he's getting older now and she can't deal with how he's starting to act slowly but surely. I'm going to have him on a reward system, and I've always had him on a reward system. He'd be like, yo, Dad, can I play the tablet? Like, for instance, last time I had him over something. Yo, Dad, can I play the game? Can I get on Roblox? I'd be like, hey, nigga, first of all, clean the room. Secondly, watch a documentary or something, educate yourself. Thirdly, I got about 10 math problems. Do these math problems. Yes, it's a grade above what you're doing, but you'll be better than them. You'll be better than every kid in your class. Do that. And then watch a documentary about the planet or something. And if I come down here and you back on YouTube or something like that, that's your ass, Mr. Postman. You know what I'm saying? That's how I rock. You feel me? You feel me? But like I said, you should always communicate with your children. And next, the brother put, what's the worst tantrum you've had to deal with, and how did you deal with it? All right, I'm gonna be real. I remember I had one bad temper tantrum. I guess I could say temper tantrum with my oldest son, Cameron, right? When he was about 7, 8 years old, and we had first moved into this apartment right here before he went back to New York, right? And I remember he did something he wasn't supposed to do, and I gave him several warnings, right? So after I gave him these warnings, he didn't listen, right? I don't even think I touched him because he's so spoiled from being around his mom and his grandparents, right? Once I took away his fun and I just left him in the room, and I basically grounded him for a mere couple hours. He took a nap, He woke up, everything was back to normal or whatever, but he was screaming. He was upset, crying and all that. Real annoying, right? Every father knows, right? When the kids get to crying and whining like that, we try to deal with that situation to get it dealt with as soon as possible, right? Right? And the bad thing to do would be to physically discipline your children when you're annoyed like this, because that's when it could cross from being disciplined to being abuse. You never want to physically discipline your children when you're angry, when you're upset, right? You always want to be rational. But he was screaming. It was mad annoying. You want to know what I did? I closed the door, left him in the room, went downstairs. He screamed, he made it hot. I ignored him, smoked the blunt, he fell asleep, woke up 3 hours later, came back down, apologized. Everything went back to normal because he held himself accountable. That's another thing, right? Train your children to hold themselves accountable when they're wrong, especially boys. Every time they do something that's their fault, you have to remind them, yo, this is your fault. Stop bringing up other people. This is your fault. This is happening because it's your fault. You had a choice, you made a choice, therefore suffer the consequences, right? And then with my youngest son, I already said earlier, he was like 3 years old and he was crying hysterically, right? And because they be with their moms let him get away with that. I got annoyed, not angry. I got annoyed, so I took him to the bathroom, right? I spanked him on his behind a couple times. And then, you know, he peed on himself because it was the first time. I guess he was kind of shocked or whatever. I didn't OD, you know what I'm saying? He still had his clothes on and everything. But he cried, he pissed on himself, his mother changed him. He went to sleep, he woke up, he was cool for the rest of the day. Right? But let's keep going, right? You have any advice you would give to a first-time father, right? When he gets to the point he finally has to give a spanking. Maybe you could walk through the instances for each of your kids as a father when you realized it was finally time to start spanking, right? Any funny or memorable stories you have of when you had to spank? Okay, so like I said, I only spanked my youngest son one time. And now my kids are 8 months apart and they both gonna be 12 this year. So the spanking phase is over. They're not really gonna feel that. And I feel like now it would be demeaning to put them over my knee and spank them. They too big for that. So there's other ways of doing things, right? So it's like, you can make them do a plank on the floor for mad long, or you can make them do like one of those 90-degree sitting positions on the wall, things like that, right? Things that are like build their body up, but it'll annoy them. You know what I'm saying? I punish them by making them right over and over again. I will not disobey my father, or I will listen to my father. Like, you got to get creative because you can't just hit your children, right? But when he says maybe you could walk through the instances of each of your kids as a father when you realize it, any funny or memorable things, you have any advice you would give to a first-time father? My thing is this, right? In regards to the very first time I spanked my oldest son, mind you, I only spanked him 2-3 times, 4 times at the max. Fortunately for me, my sons are not too unruly with me, and they're not really unruly like that with their mothers either. Like, they not, you know what I'm saying, breaking shit, getting into fights every single day, even though it's starting to happen because they get into that age, but they not like horrible kids, right? And I'm lucky for that. Like, my kids are dope. But the first time I spanked my son, I actually cried, and it didn't hit me until the next day. So it's like, remember earlier in the video I said that my son was acting up in school, and I warned him once or twice, and I said, next time, that's your ass. So he acted up again. His mother told me. So I came home from work. I was all business. I'm like, I gotta get this done. I went, I seen him. He was probably 5 or 6 at the time. I spoke to him and told him, like, didn't I tell you what's gonna happen? Blah, blah. I put him over my knee, pulled his pants down, spanked him on his behind, probably like 4 or 5 times, right? This is the roughest I've ever been with him. He cried it out. He got over it after like an hour or two, and he calmed down. He didn't get in trouble in school for a while after that. But I remember the next day in the middle of my shift at work, I was outside doing my work or whatever, and I was just thinking about it, and it affected me emotionally to where I started literally crying. Like, so I went in the corner somewhere and I called my mom, and I told my mom, like, hey, so I had to spank Cameron yesterday, and like it's affecting me, like it's hurting me on the inside. I never thought that I could hurt my child like this. Like, I felt guilty about it. Even though by now my son done forgot about it, he still loved me. You know what I'm saying? It's not like I abused him. I ain't used a belt or nothing. You know what I'm saying? And then my mother was like, I understand, son. You know what I'm saying? She's like, but understand that you raising boys, and children need to be disciplined. As long as you know you didn't go overboard, then you have nothing to be upset about. Your child still loves you. And then I'm like, Mom, I finally understand when you used to discipline me back in the day. And mind you, my mother old school, so we used to get the belt and all that, right? My mother wasn't abusive, but her belt game was on point up until I got probably like 13 years old. And I'm like, Mom, I remember, now I understand why you used to say, this is gonna hurt me more than it's gonna hurt you. Meaning that she used to say it was gonna hurt her more than it was gonna hurt me. I'm like, because emotionally, when you really love your children, you never want to hurt your children. But you also got to understand that if you want to raise, you know what I'm saying, decent kids who respect authority and they have a moral code, you have to physically discipline them a couple times in their youth. And when they're not girls and they're boys, when they get older and testosterone start flowing, you really have to, you know what I'm saying? You really might have to gut check your son. You know what I'm saying? Your son 15, 16, 17 years old and he get too disrespectful, you might have to punch your son in the face. You might have to. You know what I'm saying? But I hope I answered every question you had, brother. I understand that this isn't one of my main videos that get the most views, but this is gonna reach whoever it's supposed to reach. And it's gonna help whoever it's supposed to help. But thanks for watching. Like, share, comment, subscribe. Peace.